It might be partly the deep connection and sentiment that our country has for the epic Ramayana, the cultural and religious significance, or the controversial aspects that have followed Adipurush since its first glimpse 8 months ago, that Om Raut's Adipurush was a highly anticipated film. From since then, the film continues to face criticism and controversies from all directions. From the very inferior quality dialogues by Manoj Muntashir being considered disrespectful by a faction of people, to the general dissatisfaction with the actors playing the leads. In its essence, the film roughly follows only the popular storyline of Valmiki's epic, wherein the banished Prince Raghav of Ayodhya wages a war against the demon king Ravan of Lanka to avenge his abducted wife Janki and establish justice, that is Nyaya and Dharma. To understand the extent of the depiction of the epic, without further ado, let's dive in to deconstruct Adipurush. The creative liberty of the film. When people were bashing the project for giving Ravan and Vibhishan a perfectly trimmed two-angle haircut, or questioning the build of the castle in Lanka, I tried my best to respect the fact that every literary and visual piece of fiction may take some creative liberty to tell their own version of the story, and that might not be historically accurate. After all, we live in a subcontinent where there are in fact more than 300 tellings or versions of Ramayana, each differing from each other in plot and theme. But my efforts to give it that respect really went in vain because a lot of its creative liberty is contradicting itself. Like, why is Ravan donning a thick, heavy fur in the humidity of Lanka? Or why is the supremely important character of demigod Jatayu made into an eagle while it was a vulture in the first place? Why are Pirates of Caribbean-style European ships casually sailing beside the bridge that Raghav's Vanar Sena ties? And B, the poor quality VFX and animation of the film, which seem heavily borrowed from random places. The film reminds me of video games like Tekken 3 and movies like Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Thor. Yes, Lanka looks eerily similar to Marvel's Thor's Asgard. At one point in time, a goblin was flossing its teeth on the screen, and for a split second, I had no idea what I was watching or where I was. The goblin and I continued to stare at each other. Second is the creative choice of the film by choosing not Tatsam Hindi or pure Hindi or simple version of Hindi, which is again absolutely their choice. But the dialogues, even in regular Hindi, also don't do justice to the film, to which I will come later. The casting of the film. My personal take would be that the casting of the film, which was widely talked about, was never convincing or accepted from the very beginning. Most characters don't look the part and are not able to emote the essence of the fundamental nature of that character. This reminds me very strongly of Hugo Sacco's gentle Ram and the innocent Sita, that visibly scary red-haired Meghnad, or the purple-eyed Ravan with that Amrish Puri voice. Oof. And even though I think comparing it with any other project might not be fair to my analysis of the film, but it just so strongly reminds you of how you can be creative and yet not lose the essence of the story. Prabhas's aggressive, wide-eyed war cries don't come close to the gentleness of Ram, and Kriti's teary-eyed shots look stiff and unconvincing. Her flowing pastel drapery and Prabhas in the background scream Bahubali, while Saif does look like a typical Hindi film video game hero with that evil laughter and squinty eyes. Not for a minute does he look as magnanimously and grandly evil, barring a few scenes perhaps, like the one scene where Ravan is shown worshipping Lord Shiva and playing his sitar with the background score complementing the awe-inspiring and powerful character that he should be. This brings me to the music of the film. On most occasions, the background score builds emotion that the audience is supposed to feel. For instance, when Bajrang meets Raghav in the forest, the score in the background fills you with emotion. Personally, to me, the Sachit Parampara version of Ram Siya Ram is really melodious and nice on the ears as well. The elephant in the room, the dialogues of the film. So much has been said about the poor quality of dialogue writing by Manoj Muntashir that I am sure that Jalina and Ye Teri Bua Ka Bagicha Hai must have already reached you through memes or news. With special mention to Jaan se haath dhoega, pehle main tujhe दूंगा, और ये तो फिसड्डी है and बाली बाहर निकल वरना मैं अंदर आ जाऊंगा. I am pretty sure that you could save grace of these characters and their values even without the use of Tatsam Hindi if you don't want that. But these lines are pure cringe-inducing. Despite all this, the record breaking box office performance of Adipurush does not come as a surprise to me, because the anticipation that the film had built around it and the value of Ramayana in this country will always and inevitably draw audiences to the movie theatres no matter how lazily it has been rendered on the big screen. Do let me know in the comments what you think of the films using this sentiment to draw people into theatres. To me, it will always be a lazy, half hearted, and utterly mediocre production, which is in your face unconvincing, and the epic that we all grown up listening to and being awestruck by deserves so much better. And that was Adipurush Deconstructed.